Hey everybody, it's good to see you back again. Well, the progress on the D2 lately has been pretty slow. 2 days ago we picked up another foot of snow, so I've spent just about all my time since then dealing with it, shoveling, plowing. It's starting to get pretty deep around here too. Matter of fact, I've taken so much off the backside of the old shop here. Well, I mean, Senior's having to tunnel to get into his firewood. That's all right though, because I've been able to take advantage of a couple breaks in the action outside to sneak back here and actually get some work done. So the first thing you'll notice is this whole side of the engine is completely put back together. That's right. A few days ago, I was able to do the air pressure leak test on the new replacement oil manifold. Everything looked good, so I installed that as well as the oil filter and the breather, and then was able to do an actual oil pressure leak test, first by using the starting engine to crank the diesel to build pressure. All looked good there. So then we fired the diesel up and we really gave everything a thorough assessment as it was running. And no leaks found anywhere. So being that our plugs held in our newly bypassed oil filter base, I went ahead and threw the cooler lines on over the top of them. These are dummy props at this point. They serve no purpose other than looking the part. Another thing I noticed too while it was running, I had a little bit more needle travel on the pressure gauge. So we actually boosted our lube oil pressure by eliminating so much of that redundant circulatory system. And even Cat Inc. has told us for the last 60 years these coolers were not needed on these older engines anymore. I'm actually a proponent of bypassing or eliminating them at the first sign of trouble. I like the thought of retaining just a little bit more of that heat in the engine anyhow, because diesels run on heat, and the warmer I've been able to get this one to run, the better it's been. So I'm pretty happy to have that part behind me. Transitioning back to the carrier roller project now, everything has been disassembled, thoroughly cleaned, and inspected. And although I'm going to have to do work to a couple of pieces, for the most part, we're sitting pretty good here. Some of the preps I've got done off camera. I did find some new grease seals. These are SKF 16315s. Usually I list all the specifications for these. In this case, I don't think I'm going to bother with it because they only fit these early almost non-existent outside flange rollers. They won't fit any of the more common rollers that you're likely to find on a D2. So the likelihood of anybody needing those numbers is slim to none. I also made a couple of new fold-over locks. Did not even bother seeing if these were still available because they're just the round disc type. So using those as a pattern, was able to get us set up pretty well there and there. Assessing condition now. First, I'll show you what I found, and then I'll talk about why I think that is. Looking at the roller stands, there's a little bit of wear on the top of each one from where the weight was bearing down on them, and they're not horrible. I can catch that with my fingernail, but I've seen a lot worse. The worst part of these is where that seal lip has cut in so deep right there. If I kind of put a straight edge on there, see the gap? That cut in pretty deep, and it's on both of them, and I believe that's due to the first generation design of these. Looking at the breakdown in the parts manual, you can see how the lip of that grease seal is pretty exposed on the shaft and against the top of the stand. There's really nothing to prevent grit from building up there, working past that seal, getting into that bushing, getting in the grease, turns into a grinding paste. You get a lot of wear happening on the inside edge. And even later design levels of these earlier style stands that attach to the inside and top of the frame channel, you can see they made quite a few improvements. So first off, they went to that internal flange top roller. That allowed them to add this guard that would go up and over that seal area, and it went a long way toward keeping the dirt and the grit from piling up right against the lip of the seal itself. You see this one down here is much the same. The only thing I have here to illustrate some of those design changes is this later style U-Series tractor top carrier. And by the time the U-Series tractors came about, these top carriers were pretty much standard equipment. But the earlier J tractors, they were very much just an option. And this has a lot of the same design cues. It has that guard that goes up over the top of that seal, and it's a much larger seal. Of course, you're afforded clearance by relocating those flanges from the outside to the inside, and this later style just perches onto a threaded block that is welded right on top of the track frame channel. These are very, very easy to find, whereas these earlier ones that attach to the inside as well as the top are not. Going back to even these early breakdowns, another design upgrade they shared in common with the later roller right there is you can see they added a wear sleeve to the shaft so that that grease seal lip had something to wear upon other than the shaft itself. So if you were to get a groove right there, you can just replace that sleeve and then leave the shaft intact. And that's another reason why the grease seals for these early outside flange rollers aren't even close to fitting any of the inside flange ones, because you've basically got a larger sealing surface, so it requires a larger seal bore. They're entirely different. And now that we're aware of the design differences on these level 1 early roller stands and rollers, I believe that explains why we have such a pronounced groove cut from that old seal, because there was nothing there to protect that lip. The lip soon fails, dirt gets in there, and then migrates into the bushing area, forms a grinding paste, so that inside bushing wears the shaft. What's left of the old seal wears the shaft, but it doesn't quite get all the way out to this far end where the new grease is coming in all the time. So that's why we look pretty good out here. A little bit more wear there, whole lot of wear there, and that also mirrors what I found in the rollers themselves. To show you guys, get this roller put back on the shaft. So the play on the outer bushing out here, not bad, just a little bit of a click. But on the inside, watch this. Lots of clearance in there. That bronze bushing has worn quite a ways. And being that this outer bushing also has the thrust flange as part of it, it's integral. I'm not going to touch these outer bushings at all. There's not enough clearance there on that shaft to even worry about it. But these inner bushings are just a standard straight through design. I'll replace those for sure. Now, regarding the wear on the shafts, this might shock y'all, but they're staying just as they are because, well, I can't get them apart anyway. I've tried in the past. When I was rebuilding the Iron Mistress 5U7066, I had one of these style stands like this. We had some pretty good wear going on where the bushings were, and I tried pressing the shaft out of the stand. No luck. So I took it to my local tractor salvage repair place. They had about a 2-story tall press that they built outside the building, ran it off a tractor. They thought for sure they could do it. They couldn't move it either. They even heated this red hot. They still couldn't move it, and we just called it quits. We gave up. So ever since then, I have not even tried to press these shafts out, to renew them, to flip them, to make a new shaft to push in. I mean, I probably could drill it out or cut it out and then make a new shaft to press in. I just don't feel that a carrier roller is worth all that work. But later on, after I got the holy book right here, I learned why we were not able to disengage those shafts from the stands. So it's called A Choice of Methods from May 31st, 1950. Now, granted, this deals with D4, D6, and D8 carriers. The D2s are basically the same setup, just a little bit smaller. It states, there are two ways to correct a worn D4, D6, or D8 Trek carrier roller shaft. Replace the complete bracket assembly, which consists of both the mounting bracket and the shaft, or press the worn shaft out of the bracket and install a new shaft. See Figure 1. There you go. We've got all the part numbers for the brackets, the shafts, the sleeves, all that good stuff. It makes a difference of about $13 per roller assembly to the customer if you choose the first method in circumstances where the second method would have given just as good a job, and I bet it costs more than that now. Pressing a worn shaft out of the bracket can admittedly be a tough job. It sometimes requires as much as 125 tons pressure. However, the savings to the customer are sufficient to warrant a little extra effort in getting the job done the economical way. So now that we know that, the plan moving forward is to leave the shafts alone. I will, though, speedy sleeve the worn seal lip areas on each one. We will replace the inner bushings only on each roller, new grease seals. We've got the new locks. We've got new gaskets made for the end caps. All of our grease fittings have even been verified as good. Get that work done, put it all together, and let her buck. All right, let's get these inner bushings pulled. I will see if the puller setup works first. The crescent wrench is the key to its operation. And it worked. So, what we've got here is a piece out of my rear axle bearing puller set. Get that glare off of there. That comes from that red Nightmare box over there. So, one of those things I used back when I was still working on cars. And they were originally made for slide hammers. There's 3 sizes in here. I used the smallest one because it ended up being just like custom made to hook behind. Come on. There we are. To hook behind those bushings and pull them right out of the bore. So, yeah, they're originally made to go on a slide hammer right there. So I was taxing this one a little bit. All I did was drive the pin out of this other one so I could get this lighter duty flat washer off and put this heavier duty one on, and then I just used the nut, which usually just cinches that light washer against that roller bearing. I use that nut kind of to act as a forcing screw to, boom, pull it right out. So for once I didn't have to custom build a tool. I already had something on hand. It worked just fine. And new bushings right here. So these were actually a pretty common size. Straight 2-inch on the outside, 1 5/8 on the inside. The only difference is you can see the original ones are a little bit shorter than my new ones. These were 1.5 inches long. I'm going full 2 inches on these because what I want to do on this inside anyhow is utilize some of that non-worn area of each roller shaft and just be short enough that we don't block the grease passage. So I used the Dremel tool to reasonably replicate the grease distribution grooves that were on the insides of the original ones. And don't worry if you make a little bit of a mistake or a slip up on these, because one of these has it. Yeah, down in here, that's just a high capacity grease retention area. All right, even though I want them to be nice, they don't have to be. So let's get these pressed in. both bushings installed. Let's do some test fits now. Slide this one on. Very good. Just that little bit of a click there. That is much improved. The bushing did not come in at all on the inside diameter from the press fit. Of course, it was a pretty good press fit too, so did not seem to be excessively tight. This one as well, just a little bit of a click there. Much better than all the slack that they had before. Now, at this point, I could put the new grease seals in both of the rollers, but I'm going to hold off on that for now. I want to get the speedy sleeves put on both of these shafts first, and then be able to check fit of everything. I got a shipping notice on the sleeves yesterday, which was Friday, so I'm hoping Monday to Tuesday this coming week, we'll have those here. But in the meantime, there's one more job we can still do. It's going to require mocking the stand up onto the frame. Now, these earlier J-Series tractors that were not originally equipped with the, at the time, optional carrier roller had rear portion dirt guards that did not have any kind of a relief cutout in the side of them to clear that stand. So we need to replicate the original cutouts on both of the rear portion guards for this machine. I just happen to have the remnants of this guard on hand that has the factory cutout, and it's in good condition. All right, setting that up there, you can see how that relief clears the stand and is a good fit. So we need to use this as a pattern. Fairly straightforward task, using a piece of gasket material, trace the opening out onto it, cut it. You then have a template to place onto the original rear half guards, trace out the opening, and right there you've got the piece you need to remove. There we are, we've got an opening. Let's do a test fit. Make sure the holes are lined up. Yep. And there we are. Nice clearance around that carrier stand. So, not only did we get this side done, we did this one as well. So, we have a workable pair of rear section dirt guards for those new carriers. So all we're waiting on now are the speedy sleeves to fix up those shafts, and then we can install grease seals, fit rollers to shafts, pack with grease, end caps, thrust washers, fold over locks on. We can get those bolted up to each of the track frames and then finish looping track and bolting 20-inch wide pads. So hopefully now that we've dove a little deeper into the design of the D2 upper carrier roller, we can have a greater appreciation for these later style where they made all kinds of improvements. First, they just made it more serviceable by adding this flat base on the bottom where they welded that threaded plate to the top of the frame, and it was 4 bolts from the top, easy to get at, instead of these early style where it's 2 bolts from the top, 4 in from the side. We also have, well, the way they relocated these flanges from the outside to the inside, added this dirt guard on top, gave us a wear sleeve on the shaft, bigger seal, helps everything to live longer. Just quite the design level change between where we started and where things finally ended. But that being said, these could not be a better fit, these early first level carriers and stands for this tractor. I just, everything on this I've tried to keep just absolute bare bones first generation. This represents where it all started, despite the shortcomings, despite the dirt intrusion, despite just, you know, the overall unrefined design of these. I can't think of a better match for this machine. So that's going to wrap another one, everybody. Yeah, as soon as those sleeves show up, man, we'll hit the ground running again. So as always, everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you all found this as interesting as I do, because every time you look at any one of these parts, there's a story to be told. So I'm just a geek for this kind of stuff anyway. Thanks again, everybody. Hope to see you back.